Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to another exciting episode of Colney Talk Podcast, your bite-sized breakdown show. I'm your host Alex. First-time listeners, glad to have you here. And to my returning guests, thank you for sticking with me. As always, I talk a bit about the Arsenal match and pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who shined and one odd player not good enough I get to call out. This match for me was early excitement, frustration, and then a bit more worry. So let's just get straight into it. It was a welcome and reassuring surprise to see Saka. I'm sure some of you had hopes as well that he would show up given the way we preserved him. And that was good. I mean, I was so excited that he was starting, let alone even being the match. So that was great. But Timber as well. You know, Timber starting, I did not see that coming. His injuries have been just a mystery. In fact, you know, and I'm not necessarily sure if it's more of muscles or knee, but, you know, it's not something we can control or talk about. But, you know, it was really good to have him as well. And starting for the game gives us a little bit more of an assurance in terms of a defensive posture, seeing how we didn't have Saliba in this game. As I suspected, Ben White was preserved for that position, and a decision I wholeheartedly appreciate. Thomas Partey slotted in at the right back again. It was interesting and intriguing for me to see how he would perform against Liverpool's attacking threats for at least 90 plus minutes. So that was how I looked at it going into the game. From the first whistle, Arsenal looked ready for duels and moved with strong measure of confidence. Right away, the star boy just rocked the stadium with a fantastic goal. That was electric. He electrified the home crowd. I just couldn't control myself. I mean, every time this guy just does something special, it just flows through, and that was some strike. I mean, what a goal. 1-2, and the rhythm and how the play developed was just interesting. I mean, the strike was not just a goal, it was a statement of intent. The energy in the Emirates was great, and you can feel it as well watching. It's how we respond or how we show up for big games, and definitely was a good start. But our joy was short-lived. A slip from Mikel Merino exposed our backline from a corner, allowed Virgil van Dijk to equalize with a header, you know, from this corner kick. Liverpool were just the quicker ones to react on the ball, simply put. And just like that, we found ourselves level at 1-1. You know, for a set piece and a team that really excels really well defensively, this was not one of our best, you know, defending moments. So, you know, we had to get ourselves back up again. The right side, in terms of attacking for Arsenal, Saka and Partey, they were busy. They were busy pushing off Liverpool and trying to create chances, generating several shot attempts, giving Saka some room to really do things and get the other players in. So it was really interesting how that combination was very effective. And I'm saying it because that's not a typical play system that Saka, who hasn't been getting himself game fit with Partey in that same position that Ben White occupies, to really get his best. But still, there was so much that was encouraging how they were performing and how that right side was really, you know, pushing things forward. Arsenal's quick passing build-up play, very impressive. I mean, one of them, Trossard, dropped deep to receive a pass from Raya before linking up with Rice and Martinelli. This was just 3-4 passes before a shot or corner was unleashed. It was, again, one of those flashbacks of, I think, a couple of seasons where we had 1 or 2, 3 quick passes and we were flying. Definitely playing in that sense, and the rhythm looked so encouraging. This culminated in tight crosses that found Havertz in the box, and it was this kind of interplay that showed that we were fully wired to win every duel and every race to the second ball. The way that we were looking to put our statement, it wasn't, to me, about creating those shots or, you know, having those shot attempts. It was making those shot attempts become the goals, the amount of, you know, shots that would, you know, result to, you know, score numbers. So there was a lot to appreciate. At least I did, for those plays and combinations that put the attacking in the forefront of things. And as we kept going, we pressed forward. There was so much that felt like we were going to see those goals be produced. And then there was an incident that left me scratching my head, like in one of the plays where Martinelli in the box was fouled, and that should have been a penalty, but it's like not given. Like, how on earth was there no penalty check for Martinelli's tackle in that box? So rather than talk about it in the way that many of us discuss about these situations, let me ask it in a different way. If it had occurred outside the box, would that have received a call or stop in some way? Because if it did, then why didn't it go that same way in the box? Because that would have been a VAR check for the ref to go and look at the screen or something. But I mean, it felt inconsistent, and it left me questioning the officiating once again. But that's logic, where you kind of ask that question, like, take it outside the box, what will be the same reaction? If it's something you expect for it to happen, then why didn't it happen in the box? Which it did. So that was the first head scratcher. And there's nothing we can do. Arsenal, we pressed on. Our attacking play looked convincing as we pushed for another scoring chance. The boys were interchanging positions. That was just a pleasing response in how they were playing, and especially in front of the home crowd. You got to really show up really well, and they did. It was beautifully flowing in front of Liverpool's goal, and how they were creating openings, and that had me and so many of us very optimistic for another goal, and we kept pushing. Then we had a few flashes, nothing really connecting the few times, and then it came. Another highlight of the first half. Mikel Merino stamped his name with the first goal in an Arsenal shirt. A beautiful cross from Declan Rice that found him perfectly positioned to a finish. Now, that's the goal that had us wait a few more minutes. I mean, rightfully so. Yeah, VAR would do its thing, but sheesh, you couldn't do that for the previous, situation where they needed to be called for penalty. But this one, it felt like you wanted to take away some shine from a clear goal, but thankfully we didn't have to deal with that. And for me, from this goal, this moment showed that it was not just only how we proved how good we were with set pieces, but every other thing, because Mikel Merino's potential, he just showcased it in just those few moments. And I think there's just a lot that we should be excited about, because it was great, and let's not forget who created this. Declan Rice. I mean, highlighting his ability to influence games from the midfield. I mean, this is the attacking side of Declan Rice that we're going to see more of. But yeah, it was a good combination. And then for a decent amount of time, Arsenal managed to keep Liverpool at bay. The only threat came from McAllister's header that was Araya's collection, easily, and that was it for halftime. And by halftime, Arsenal had dictated much of the rhythm of play with an impressive pass completion rate of 87%, and our attacking threat, stood up to 1.2 compared to Liverpool's 0.5. And to me, that indicated what I talked about, how we pressed hard in creating a few more chances. Yes, we had 2 goals heading into the half. We probably could have had another one, and not to bring it again, but I have to. That penalty should have counted as another one too. So, we indeed create chances, dangerous ones, and those opportunities converted to at least 2 goals, but we had at least quite a few more, at least one of them that just was not accounted for. So that was it for the first half. And then as we started the second half, this just felt like, dark clouds coming in. The excitement really quickly faded due to an unfortunate injury for Big Gabi. He's a tough dude. I've seen him play with injuries and, manage it through, at least visibly, in some previous games in the past. I know there's some other players that probably have done that, so I don't want to, not give them credit, but at least I can remember a few games from Big Gabi and how he managed to do that. This one, this injury, it was such a disappointment because he could not continue. He had been solid at the back. He managed to keep things going, but there was no way that he could play further. So he just had to get subbed for Kiwior, and he was so crucial in keeping our defensive stability in check because, as you know, we didn't have reasons to think about or remember Saliba's absence because we had the players enough to come in and fill it for him. But then it's so difficult to have these two guys not on the field at the same time. It just felt like a complete different game. So, I mean, no disrespect to Kiwior. He came in his place, but it put extra pressure on him because Liverpool seized this opportunity to ramp up their attacking plans. And definitely for me, I was not going to speak as a pessimist, but it's so clear and so evident that the team that plays in sync in the similar chemistry of how they move and manage situations, Kiwior, I don't know, is not necessarily that player that we can sort of think of in that way. Yes, he comes in and does the job. You know, there's much to appreciate him from that situation, but for a high stakes game, big team, big stars in front of, you know, our goal that we have to defend, that's a tall order. So, you know, there was a lot that we had to deal with. And from that, Liverpool began pressing us hard in our defensive third, launching several in-swing crosses into our box. Partey stood out during this period with brilliant defending. He was eating up grass in split seconds as he tracked back and intercepted passes effectively. However, Liverpool pushed harder, you know, and for an equalizer, it just felt like we had to do our best to hold on. And at the time, while we were still 2-1 up, there was a lot of defensive concerns. But then we also had attacking chances that we had to take up on. Martinelli lost one of his moments with a poor first touch that squandered a promising breakaway because he had a few of those. But it just was frustrating because he had the space to run into, but seemed to either overthink it or just feel or look one-dimensional when it mattered the most. And at least I can count 2 or 3 runs like that where he had it. Not an easy run where he can just hold off because he had to fight off Konate, so that wasn't an easy thing to do. But those runs felt like, you know, there was something that could either come out of 2 of them. So expectations from Martinelli for sure in the game that he plays really well. I didn't see that. So, you know, we had to lose our sting from an attacking standpoint and then face a lot of defensive, you know, concerns. And then we had another blow. Timber could not continue to another injury. I mean, losing one of our stronger defenders is one thing, but losing 2, that's just like the feeling of vulnerability all over. And for this game, that was what, you know, Liverpool saw. They smelt blood even more as we were now sort of losing our main pillars. So they felt they had to get into a relentless posture in terms of attacking. And it felt like we were struggling to put some distance between ourselves and Liverpool as they press forward with some renewed vigor. It's just inevitable. They had to press on. They knew we were now reeling back to kind of contain ourselves and absorb as much pressure and go forward. I mean, we did all that and we continued fighting for the win, and we tried this as much, but again, we had that moment where everything kind of showed itself up, and then we considered that second goal, and now we were like 2-2, you know, towards the end of the game, and it was just very frustrating. And as we continued to fight for a win, we kept scrapping, and we scored what looked like a third goal, but then we were left, you know, like confused, like why was it disallowed? What was that really about? I mean, it felt like another bad call in what was a already frustrating match with some of these calls that we know was just big head scratches. So that was it. We lost that chance of a third goal taken away from us. We kept playing. As time wore on, our attacking spark began to dwindle significantly. Another great cross from Martinelli found Jesus in the box, but it was really tight at the end of it. So I wasn't expecting anything to come from that. He gave his all, but that was really tough. And it was, again, the Arsenal team scrapping, trying for every play combination for any chance to muster for a win. And we tried for a few last pushes, but that was it. We just lost those chances and the game came to an end. I mean, I don't think the number of shots matter to me, because if it were not threatening, it would just be numbers and stats that we can at least appreciate. But obviously, if there were ones that were fired with some level of, assurance, like we kind of played off in that first half, that will be more, at least for me to call out. But obviously, it felt some shots where with some, traces of anxiety. I can understand that, or just the tightness of how things looked after what we were dealing with. So there's just a lot of emotions, a lot to deal with psychologically in the game. But it was clear we lacked the finishing touches when it mattered the most, because if it was two huge shots, it could have been a different outcome, or we could have held on to our lead if it weren't for those injuries. I don't want to pull on your emotions here, because we have coped with different situations, but it's very difficult, because there's some things like injuries that throw things off for teams. So I tell myself, and you fellow Gunners, we are at 85%, but we have pushed forward. We've done more with the less in terms of quality on the field. And it's not as rosy as it was in the past, where we had a team, thankfully, all fully fit, and we performed consistently without really worrying about injuries so much. But now here we are. We have to rely on the belief, the squad, the players that we are putting all our hopes on, and the ones that are kind of coming up through the ranks. And in our collective strength, I know there's so much that's going to come and what lies ahead based on the glimpse of what this team can produce when we're even at 90%. So there's a lot for me to be hopeful, and I hope you guys are too. Okay, let me get to my top 3 Arsenal performers. First up, Thomas Partey. Partey was instrumental in both defense and midfield. He completed 92% of his passes and won crucial duels throughout the match. He really impressed me in this game. His ability to break up play and shield the backline helped mitigate Liverpool's attacking threats, especially coming from Diaz. So, he had his hands full and he performed really well. And his combination with Ben White was incredible. And Partey's discipline in handling Diaz, his assignment there was quite commendable, especially during moments of pressure, because he had a couple of that. He has added this ability to play right back into the dynamism of the backline, where he can comfortably switch with Ben White in game, making it hard for players to track in who they are trying to go against. So for me, it's not just only how he performed very well, but seeing how this is a big plus that he's going to carry into the season, and how they're going to continue to game manage and game plan with different players and situations as they see, come in front of them. So that's definitely a good thing. Second player, Declan Rice, showcased his importance yet again, and more in the attacking side. He provided an assist, a beautiful assist for Mikel Merino's first goal, and he completed 89% of his passes. That's big time stuff. His presence in midfield allowed Arsenal to dictate play while also contributing defensively. This is, DNA of Declan Rice. Nothing new here, but I mean, his work rate was exceptional. He consistently covered ground and made more key interceptions. I think he was the instigator to getting our attacking transition in form. I think him and Merino were neck and neck in that situation, but more so for Declan, because he was going straight at it, getting to the box. I wish we did more from those in terms of converting that to meaningful shot attempts. I mean, just a lot to wish from there, but great performance. His ability to transition from defense to attacking helped maintain that momentum, especially in that first half, as I talked about. And those crucial phases of play, it was simply the last piece that we were hoping but couldn't produce. But he did a lot to bring it up to that point. So big up Declan Rice. Third and final player, Mikel Merino. A standout performance from this guy. He scored his first goal for Arsenal with a well-timed finish from Rice's cross. Merino displayed excellent vision. I mean, his vision and passing ability throughout the match. I mean, there's just I mean, it's amazing. His contributions were vital in maintaining our attacking threat against a tough opponent like Liverpool. He also showed me so much to come in terms of how he'll keep our attacking humming like crazy. I'm getting that early excitement vibes from Mikel Merino like I did for Havertz in his early days, and definitely there's more to come from him on that. So big ups again, Mikel Merino. This draw against Liverpool feels more like a loss than anything else. I don't have any odd player, by the way, but trying to move past this, there were moments of brilliance, especially from players like Saka, Rice, Merino, Partey. The injuries sustained during this match just casted a huge shadow over what should have been a very uplifting performance, but that's what we have to deal with. The injury concerns are piling on now. There's no way to shy away from it. Losing key players like Big Gabi and Timber is concerning as we look ahead at our fixtures. This instability raises questions more about our depth squad and resilience moving forward. We have them, but how much do we really have them? I mean, think about it. When last did we see Zinchenko come in to play at least a few minutes? When last did we see Tomiyasu? There is so much to think about. And then not to mention in attack, we have Waneri, but we can't put a lot of that pressure on him. So there's just so much in terms of getting that squad depth, front and center, push forward, or really testing how much great depth we have. And we'll see more of that in the weeks ahead. Despite today's result keeping us competitive in the league standings, there's an overriding philosophy that needs addressing. How do we maintain consistency while navigating these challenges? We need to ensure that our performances reflect our ambition as we push through this season, and fingers crossed that we're going through these bumps and really get to the end of it so we can get all our players back. Alrighty, that would do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening and tuning into this Colney Talk podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed today's talk, like, subscribe, and share with your fellow Gunners. Until next time, up the